The Democratic National Convention got kicked off formally last night in Chicago. Well, how do we put this? The past 4 years of the Biden administration and all the failures that has encompassed this administration make it very difficult for Democrats to run on issues that are of great concern to the American people. Things like the economy, the southern border, and a host of other things. So the speakers last night ratcheted up their rhetoric on things like abortion, things like opposing Donald Trump. Very little policy discussion. And joining me now with his reaction is Congressman Bob Good. He serves in a number of places in D.C., including the Budget Committee. He also is the chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. He represents the 5th Congressional District of Virginia. Congressman Good, my friend, always great to see you. Welcome back to Washington Watch.
Great to be with you again, my friend. Thanks for having me, Jody.
All right, let's just start with your general 30,000-foot view of the speeches last night at the DNC.
Well, as you already referenced it really is unprecedented, unheard of that you would have the former president, or the current president, the outgoing president anyway, the still leader of the party, not get to speak until 11:30 p.m. Eastern time to finish his speech well after midnight. I guess they were trying to hide Biden. I think you can see that Vice President Harris is trying to distance herself from his policy. She's denying all of her previous positions and making up new positions, some of those adopted or copied from the Trump campaign. But I guess they wanted to distance themselves from the past and reminders that everyone is worse off than they were 4 years ago. Unless you're an illegal alien, those are the only ones doing better under the Biden-Harris administration. So the first thing that was very telling is the way they treated Joe Biden. They certainly didn't want him prominently displayed on the stage. Then to your point of a few moments ago, this is the party of death. This is the party that celebrates abortion. We can remember 30 years ago, the Clinton era, and while you and I are committed to protecting life from conception, but the Democrats, at least some time ago, believed that abortion was a bad thing that ought to be so-called safe, legal, and rare, as they used to put it. Now they're celebrating it. They're actually performing abortions on site with the abortion trailer that's outside of the arena. Their policies are extreme. Their policies are hurting the American people. Their policies are destroying our culture. When they talk about their policies, they lie about them. Or in the case of Kamala Harris, of course, she's trying to adopt new policies to try to fool the American people.
Well, it really is unbelievable. I still am in somewhat disbelief that there is that mobile trailer right there performing free abortions and vasectomies right there outside the door of the DNC convention. It's just, it really is unreal. You know, you would think watching this convention, you would get the impression that the Democrats don't even have an incumbent president. I mean, they're talking about what we're going to do on day one, all these kind of promises. Their policies have been dismal. Is it for that reason that you think that they are now just hyper-focused on priorities like abortion because they just simply don't have anything else to talk about?
You're exactly right. They have nothing that they can run on truthfully. Now, they lie about it. They try to claim there's no inflation. We've got 40-year high inflation. The president, you were just running a piece where he's claiming that the border invasion is down. Of course, the border invasion has increased exponentially under this president. Untold millions have come across the border, particularly the criminal gotaways, the ones with the terrorist ties and trafficking drugs and children and women into the country. You've got foreign engagements that were not happening when President Trump was there, war in the Middle East, war in Ukraine, and so forth. The economy is hurting, unemployment. Inflation is crushing the American people. American energy prices are crushing the gas prices that are about double from when this president was in office. Housing costs, utility costs, grocery costs. They really have nothing they can run on. They certainly can't run on violent crime. And so that's why they want to talk about things like abortion. But it was telling that you've got the protests going outside of the arena as well. They've got 3 layers of security fences to try to keep the protesters outside. There's tens of thousands already. I suspect that will grow over the course of the week. I suspect it will get more violent over the course of the week. And this is the anti-Israel wing that controls the Democrat Party, such that Joe Biden couldn't even utter the word Israel during his remarks last night.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. And the security, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought this was a party that said that fences don't work. I mean, there's no need to put a fence up on the southern border. But when it comes to their safety, yeah, we better put a fence up because they want to be safe. What about the American people? But what about our country? The hypocrisy just seems to be never ending. What are you expecting tonight? More of the same? What do you anticipate as Obama comes to the stage?
Well, the American people don't want these policies that are destroying the country. It's not about messaging. It's not about presentation. It's about the policies that are destroying the country. And I should hope and pray, we should all hope and pray that the American people have suffered sufficiently and they're appropriately connecting the suffering that they're enduring to the policies of the Biden-Harris administration, which is the third term extension of the Obama administration. And while Obama is a talented politician, he'll try to put a pretty face on it. He and Michelle both tonight, you know, they have nothing to run on. They have nothing to promote in terms of the policies because everyone other than the illegal aliens are worse off under these policies that are destroying the country.
So and I guess we really won't know this till 80 whatever days from now, but how do you think the voters are watching this? Is this moving the needle at all, do you think? Or do they come across unified? Do they come across with vision? How do you think people are watching this?
Well, I think the Trump campaign and the House and Senate campaigns on the Republican side, the conservatives certainly need to run on policy. They need to demonstrate the difference between the 4 years under President Trump and the 4 years under Joe Biden. It is concerning that particularly the young person vote that wasn't going to turn out and vote for doddering old Joe Biden, the sympathetic elderly man with a poor memory. They recognized that he was a tired relic of the past and that he was failing. But Kamala's a little more fashionable, a little more cool, if you will, a little more clever presentation if you don't listen substantively to what she says. But if you just listen to what she says and the incompetence that's on display, even today she had a few remarks to the press where apparently the word phrase of the day was return on investment, and she repeated that same word half a dozen or so times during a word salad of remarks to the press. It seemed clear that she doesn't know really what that means. She was just told that's what she should say today. So hopefully the American people will look substantively at the policies. They won't look at just the presentation of a younger presidential candidate, and they will recognize that she is the one who's totally aligned with President Biden and the harm that's been done for the policies that are destroying the country.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Do you think that the American voters are going to buy this vagueness? It seems like Kamala Harris is deliberately vague on every issue of any substance. She's been hiding from the press. She does not want people to see what her real policies are. She does not want people to see what she really believes. She is being vague whenever she does say anything. Are the American people going to buy that vagueness as a candidate, or do you think they will demand more substance as this campaign goes forward?
I certainly hope they will demand substance. As you know, she doesn't want to debate. She won't take questions. She won't hold press conferences. She won't do substantive interviews. She doesn't have any positions on her website even. And so far, they think it's working because they think she's risen in the polls compared to where Biden was. They think she's a little more popular than she was when she was, just the vice president just a few weeks ago. So they seem to think that it's working. The Biden basement strategy worked to some extent, 4 years ago. But then when she has tried to put out some substance, it was basically communism. It was communism that we're going to have price controls, communism that we're going to pay people these expanded tax credits, which means essentially giving checks to people who don't pay any taxes, and then the $25,000 down payment for first-time home buyers, which would essentially raise the cost of housing as the market would adjust to the new cash that was infused into. And it's doubling down on the very policies that are causing the massive inflation, the 40-year high inflation, the 20-year high interest rates.
Deeply concerning.
That's put housing out of reach for Americans.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Congressman Bob Good, my friend. Always great to see you. Thank you for coming on Washington Watch.